Hi guys! Today is the start of a very exciting new project. I am building a modern makerspace. I'm Linn and this is the Darbin Orvar channel. Now this is my dining room. Now we don't really use this room that much, and I know that's true for a lot of people who may have a corner or a wall or even a room that they don't use fully. And I really hate that. So instead I want to turn the space into something truly useful. A great workspace that incorporates everything that I love. Woodworking, electronics and design work. And I have also made room for a 3D printer, leatherwork, sewing and computer work. So this will complement my traditional woodshop outdoors and create a practical workspace within my home. It's going to be quite challenging, I think, to fit everything in between these two walls and to organize everything properly. It is also a very big project, so I'm going to do this over a couple of videos. Now, I have been thinking and planning and anticipating this project for quite some time now, so I'm just so excited to finally get started, and I'm really glad to be able to share this journey with you guys. There are many parts to this project. A row of cabinets high, 2 cabinets below, 2 open shelves in the middle, smaller cubbies underneath, a thick hardwood counter, cabinets below, and a storage unit to the right with 10 thin drawers. Imagine that fitting in between here. The space is pretty small, about 8.5 feet across and a little over 8 feet high. Now, the first thing I started working on, something I've been working on all summer, it's the counter. This is big leaf maple, and I got these from my friend Kim, who runs a local mill, and I'll leave a link to his Instagram in the description. As you can see, these are big pieces of lumber, and they're quite challenging to work with. The first thing I need to do is to bring the wood down to a size that I can physically lift around easier, and that my machines can handle. You see, I have a very small DIY jointer, and a planer, and before you can put anything through the planer, one of the sides needs to be flat. The goal is to bring the wood down to size, so I can eventually put it on the table saw and cut it into roughly square pieces. Now, some of the wood I was able to take directly from the pile to the bandsaw, and other pieces had more twists and turns and knots, so I had to work the wood by hand first. It's a little tricky because sometimes the pieces were so large or twisted, and I had to bring the lumber into the shop and try to chop off those problem areas manually. Basically, when you need to remove a lot of material, I sometimes find it easier to simply put the chisel down and chop sections off that way. And this is mostly to get it square enough to put it through the bandsaw, so it's not so twisted. Since there are so many pieces of lumber to really process here in order to get enough for a counter, I have been working on one piece at a time for quite a while now. Some pieces were straight and required less work, some were bowed, more like this one, and required more. If you had more heavy-duty equipment, you might run these pieces through a large jointer right off the bat. However, these pieces are so large and heavy, which is why I have done a lot of work with chisels and planes. And sometimes I skip plane to make it a little easier. So there are many more steps to making this counter and basically figuring out this huge puzzle. But more on that in the next video. I think a really important aspect of making a good workspace is sectioning off that space somehow so it feels more private, especially if it's not a dedicated room. Now, there are many ways you can do that. However, one of the cheapest and easiest ways is with fabric. Just to show you guys what this space looks like now. It is kind of a mess. I'm in the middle of sewing curtains to put up between this space and that space. The outside is going to be dark red to match these ones in the living room. Now, one of the cool things about living in the age of today is of course the web. I think it is pretty amazing that I can plan out this whole project from my home. For all hinges, hardware, tools and more, I've been scouting Rockler's website and planning that all out. I haven't had to visit any physical stores, which I still find kind of amazing, and now I'm all ready to get started. The first thing I'm starting on is the upper cabinets. These will be high up and have doors on them, and I started with cutting up some 3/4 inch plywood to size. This is pre-primed plywood, which will make my life a lot easier since I'm planning on painting this later inside the house. I need a total of 7 middle pieces, 5 of which will be dividers. So this is going to be one long unit, and I have 2 issues to work with here. First of all, the ceiling is nowhere near flat or level. In fact, it dips down quite dramatically in the middle, like older houses often do. Secondly, the wall is about 8.5 feet, whereas a sheet of plywood is 8 feet. And I didn't really want to piece together extra material and make it weaker. So instead, I decided to attach these brackets on the sides. These are really simple, and I figured the cabinet unit could rest on here temporarily as I screw it into the studs and also make up that extra space in between the walls. I started with pre-drilling the plywood for this one cubbyhole unit, which is kind of what it is, and making sure everything is square, and these square clamps here really make that easier to ensure. Of course, also checking and marking to make sure the dividers are going in straight. And once the piece is up, it's easy enough to screw the back piece directly into the studs. And later on, any gaps will be covered by molding. And that's where we are right now. Lots more to work on, but I'll save that for next time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and keep your eye out for the next video in this Makerspace series.